So do you need to be smart to be a programmer? Let's talk about that in today's video. Welcome back. My name is Tim Buchalka with another programming tip of the day. And the question again was, do you need to be smart, quote unquote smart, to be a programmer? Now I'm putting the quotes up there because being smart, or the word smart to me, is a subjective thing. What does smart mean? Does it mean that you've got an IQ of 500? Does it mean that you're a rocket scientist? Does it mean that you can turn a computer on? What is smart? So in general, I would say that no, you don't need an IQ of 500 to be a programmer. You don't need to be a rocket scientist. You need to be, you need to have certain skills, yes, but I wouldn't necessarily say you need to be smart in that sense. So again, smart's a very subjective word, but let's go through some of the things that I think you need to have to be a programmer. Number one, I think you need to be the ability to think logically. So you need to be able to look at a problem. It's very common for a programmer to get presented a problem. You need to have a structured, logical way of thinking, to think, okay, I've got this problem. How do I go about learning that? And to go through it step by step, thinking logically and thinking critically. I think they're good skills, but they're skills that are learnable. And also, the more you work in programming, you tend to acquire some of those skills. Not to say that there aren't different levels. Some people are actually more logically and structured in their thinking by default. But you can get there if you believe you don't possess those skills at the moment. So very important to have those skills. Another important one is persistence. So you need to realize that you are going to hit roadblocks. That's the reality of being a programmer. There's going to be times where you're feeling frustrated, you're overwhelmed, you don't know where to start, you can't get something to work. That's just that's the nature of programming. It hits everyone. Beginners, intermediate, experts, gurus, whatever. Everyone hits that level from time to time. That's just the reality of being a programmer. And the great thing is that if you realize that and realize that that's a temporary situation and work through that, you'll come out the other side a better programmer. So that's going to be the reality. It's not always going to be a bed of roses. You're not always going to just be able to skip through a field and programming is easy and it's just, you're just raking in the dollars and there's no stress. You will get that stress. So if you accept that and realize that's part and parcel of becoming a programmer and being a programmer, then you're halfway there already. Next, I think you have to have the ability, this sounds a bit funny, but you need to be able to use a search engine. Very important as a programmer, and I've got videos on all these topics actually, so check out my channel, other videos on this channel for more information. But I've seen lots of people, particularly beginners, asking questions that if they just type that question as is directly into Google or any other search engine, they'll probably get the answer they need. So you need to be self-sufficient and to be able to use a search engine. Now that doesn't just go with asking simple questions like which programming language is best. That's a subjective thing anyway, so that's a little bit hard to answer. But more specific things like if you get an error while programming, copy and paste the error into a search engine, usually Google, and you'll get the answer to that. Or highly likelihood you'll basically get most of the gist is what I'm saying, to be able to solve that particular problem. So it's very critical for you to have the ability to use a search engine. And next you need to, really one of the most important things is to realize that you're not going to get to a certain area where you never have to study again. No one programmer knows everything. No programmers usually memorize codes. What they get good at is some of the areas that I've talked about in this video, but also being good at documentation, another video that I've talked about before. So in other words, let's assume you've got the basic skills as a programmer. Someone comes to you and says, right, I need you to write a stock trading application, and I want you to use this framework that we've purchased to do that. So you need to go away and learn how to use that framework. So documentation, you need to go through the processes, have a look at the application programming interface, have a look at how it works, and learn to use that. So you won't always get the answers given to you on a plate, unfortunately. And once you get out into the real world and you start programming, you'll be expected to solve problems yourself. There won't be anyone necessarily always to go to get those answers. So getting good at your search engine, getting good at learning to read documentation, to test, think logically, realizing that you are going to get distracted, so persevering. These are all the skills you need to make you better, and that's what I believe is people who possess these skills, they are the smart people who will succeed as a programmer, but also in general will succeed in virtually anything they apply themselves to. Alrighty, so I hope that helped. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave a comment and I'll get back to you. If you're ready to look at the next tip, click on up here and you can check that out. If you're interested in coding specific programming videos, click on the link in the bottom left hand corner. Consider subscribing by clicking on the link up here, and I'll see you soon.